I used to work 14-hour days in a business that I built from scratch. And although in the beginning, I built the business for more income, more success, and more freedom, my reality was very different. And what I built for myself actually was a golden cage that had imprisoned me. But then fast forward a couple of years, and my reality was very different. I was living on the paradise island of Bali in Indonesia with my family in a beach mansion, whilst my business was thriving back in the UK. We was winning industry awards, we was hitting record revenues. And to be honest, life was amazing. I was hardly working in the business and I was just jumping in on the odd weekly management meeting. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the exact steps that I took in order to create that level of transformation within my business. And so if you're watching this and you might be going through a similar experience where you're unmotivated, you've hit a plateau, things are just overwhelming and you've become the bottleneck within your business, this is going to inspire you to take action and perhaps create the same level of transformation as what I did that enabled me to scale up the business and actually exit for a multi-seven-figure sum. And guys, if you're new to this channel and want to know what qualifies me to speak on this subject, my name is Ryan Jackson, author, serial entrepreneur, and business mentor. And I now help service-based business owners escape the day-to-day delivery and scale up to multiple seven-figure exits. So if you're new to this channel, make sure you like and subscribe, hit the notification bell to stay up to date with the latest weekly video releases. So let's get into it. So in order for you to get maximum value out of this video, it's important that I start from the beginning and I share with you my story because this would give you context to where I was, what happened, the transformations that occurred, and how I got to the point of where I am today. And so in the beginning, like many business owners, I started in an industry that I knew absolutely nothing about. It's not like I had always aspired to be in the parking management industry. It wasn't like a lifetime or a lifelong ambition of mine. It's quite simply, I fell into it by chance. Just in conversation, a couple of the people have mentioned the idea to me, and it's something that I looked into, did a little bit of research, and naively thought, yes, I can make millions out of this. But the reality was very, very different. When I started, I was quite literally a one-man band. So I was out on the field, I was doing the administration, I was doing the accounting, and it was tough, it was a challenge, but I was determined to make it work. And I put myself in a position where I'd burnt my ships, so I had no other option but to make it a success. And then slowly over time, I started to gain some traction, started to secure some clients, and the business started to build some momentum. It was bringing in revenue. I was in a position where I was able to employ people, to alleviate some of the pressures from my shoulders. But despite that, I was still working ridiculous hours. I was still carrying the burden of a lot of stress. Everything still went through me and it started to take its toll. And so yes, a few years on, and the business from the outside anyway, could be perceived as a success, meaning I'd built a team of employees. I had an established client base. I was earning more money than what I'd ever earned in my life. However, it had come at a price, and that price was my health. That price was my community, my friends, my family. That price was stress. That price was working ridiculous hours. And I know a lot of you can probably relate to this as well. And I got to a point where it got so bad that I started experiencing these crazy panic attacks and anxiety. And my quality of life had been massively compromised. And so this put me in a position where I started to do a lot of soul searching. Started to question what it is that I want to do. You know, is this what I want to be doing for the rest of my life? Is this even sustainable long term? Because the level of anxiety that I was experiencing was horrendous. And not many people actually know about this. I haven't shared it with a lot of people. However, I had to make a decision because no, the business wasn't serving me the way that I was operating. But at the same time, I'd done too much to just simply walk away and just let it go. And if I wanted to sell the business, then I couldn't really do so because it hadn't got to the level that justifies selling it, or it wouldn't give me the payout that I would need to be able to go and pursue other things. And so I was stuck between a rock and a hard place and I didn't know what to do. And so after a period of soul searching, I then made the decision that I haven't just come this far just to come this far. And so I need to see it through to the end. So right there and then, I made a decision to actually sell the company. I was going to continue with the business. I was going to grow and scale it to the point where I could then exit and then begin to pursue the things that really brought me joy and fulfillment and be able to live life in a more balanced and more harmonious way. But at the same time, I knew that I couldn't continue the way that I was working, with everything going through me, working ridiculous hours and so on. Something had to give. So I then made a commitment to myself that I was going to go out and find the solutions, regardless of what it took and how much I needed to spend, in order to find a better way of working, so there wasn't so much emphasis and reliance upon me within the business. First things first, I locked in my morning routine. So I was going to bed early, waking up at 5 a.m. before my wife, before my kids, so I could have that quality time with me. So that means I could prepare for the day, start the day with purpose and intent. And that really made a big difference, because before they'd even got up, I'd done my meditation, done my visualization. I'd already had my workout. I'd either gone for a run, I'd worked out in the home gym. I'd already set my goals for that particular day in my MITs, the most important tasks. And really, before the world had even begun, I was already hitting the road running, excuse my pun. And so that was a big game changer. And on top of that, I committed to a personal development journey. So I was reading every day. At the point where I had to commute to either the office or to a client meeting, I was listening to audiobooks. I was maximizing my time, making sure that I was absorbing all the necessary information that was going to provide value to my life and value to my journey. I literally spent tens of thousands of pounds signing up to different gurus, meeting new people, different networking groups, and it was transformational. And so after studying all these different gurus, all these business coaches, watching ridiculous amount of hours of tutorials and coursework and training, I was then able to compile a framework that created huge transformation for me across so many different levels. And the end result was that I was actually able to make myself redundant for my business. This should be the goal for every entrepreneur. Your goal should be to make yourself redundant so that actually you're no longer needed in your business in order for it to thrive. And this was actually the big realization for me, and probably one of the biggest traps that keep entrepreneurs stuck, believing that everything needs to go through them. They develop a level of self-importance or ego, thinking that they have to be across every part of their business, all communication, all decisions. And actually the reality is very different if you want to be successful, if you want to be able to grow in a sustainable way and scale. And so I built my business to a point whereby I was simply no longer needed. I didn't have to be in the business on a daily basis, or it didn't require my input. And if it did, it's only because I was being busy. I didn't need to do it. And then at this point is when COVID hit. And this was probably the biggest test for a lot of businesses. But what it did do is provide for me further clarity that actually didn't matter if I was working from home in my office or if I was on the other side of the world. The business simply didn't need me anymore to be a part of it. And so me and my wife made the decision that we was going to up sticks and fulfill a lifelong dream of living in another country. So we decided to move to Bali, despite never actually ever going to Bali or visiting Bali before. And it was definitely the best decision that we'd ever made. So we took that leap of faith, traveled over 7,000 miles, and literally it was like paradise. We were living in a beach mansion in Chamagi, not too far from Canggu, the popular tourist spot. My kids were going to an amazing school, which is a lot more conscious, more focused on, holistic aspects of education, which was just an amazing experience for them. My lifestyle was, I was getting up in the morning, either going to Muay Thai, having a coconut on the beach, taking the dog for a walk. It was simply just an incredible way of being for a number of years. I was spending a lot more quality time with my kids. And before that, I was working every single day. I was leaving the house, it was dark, coming home, it was dark. And I didn't really get to spend quality time with my wife or with my kids. But now I was spending so much quality time with them. I was actually experiencing them growing up. And unfortunately, this is one of the compromises of being an entrepreneur. We miss out so much of that quality time spending with our family, with our kids, with our loved ones, not being able to go to the show or certain events because we're busy working. But that isn't how life should be. And it doesn't have to be if you set your business up the right way. And during this time, my business was still flourishing back in the UK. As I said, we was hitting record revenues despite COVID going on. We was winning industry awards. We was Parking Provider of the Year. We won the Ernest Davies Awards. I was a finalist in the British Business Awards. There was so many things going on. We was gaining so much recognition. I was featuring in various business and lifestyle publications, Sunday Times, Executive Magazine, the Metro. It was almost like life couldn't get any better. We had the lifestyle. We was in Bali. We had the beautiful weather. I was spending quality time with my kids. I didn't have to be in the office. The only time I was really interacting with my team was either on management meetings or the odd one-to-one once a month. And this can all be attributed to the systems, the processes, the people, and the frameworks that I've put in place within the company. And at the time, unknowingly, I just put it down to my method of working. But what I realized is that this method, this system that I created, was transferable across any business, across any industry. And so now this is the same system that I use to help my mentees gain the same level of transformation and success in their business and life as what I achieved in mine. And I'm going to break down this framework to you now. So firstly, we're going to look at the no end game. And this is definitely one of the biggest issues within business, because what happens is they may wake up, they might be in a corporate job, and one day they think, oh, I've had enough of this, I want to work for myself. All right. And naively they say, okay, I'm going to set up a business. Okay. And that's their goal, setting up a business. And guess what? They hit that goal because they set up a business. Yet the business might be bringing in a level of revenue. It might be self-sustainable. They're bringing profits. They're earning money. But then what next? It's no different to your job, but you just got 99 problems, unlike what you had when you was employed. You fall into the trap where you create, like me, you create this golden cage for yourself, and it comes at a price. Yes, you increase the level of income, increase the level of revenue, but you then sacrifice your freedom. You're then receiving emails and calls on your weekends and of the evening. You can never go on holiday and truly relax because you're worrying about your business back home. That's not where you want to be for the rest of your life. That's unsustainable. That's unhealthy. And so you have to have an end game. That end game could be removing yourself from day-to-day deliveries to getting your business to a point where, like me, it no longer needs you. It may be actually achieving an exit and selling your company. But when you actually look at any successful entrepreneur, Elon Musk, Richard Branson, even Alan Sugar, they all start a business, or even any VC, venture capitalist company, they all start a business with an end game in mind. The business is just a vehicle for them to achieve their end goal. So the question I have for you is, what is your end goal? Because your business isn't the end goal. And most people treat it like the end goal, and they shouldn't. And that's where you find yourself in problems. You know, are you working to live or are you living to work? These are the questions that you need to start asking yourself. So firstly, the biggest trap is that they had no end game. There's no end goal. It really is just to set up a business. They get there and then there's nothing after that. And that's when monotony starts to creep in. That's when mediocrity creeps in. And that's when unhappiness, unfulfillment, depression creeps in. Really, if we're going to be honest, all right? We don't want that to happen for you. Then you have hiring the wrong people. So what happens is that you hire people, maybe in your circle, people that you know, because you're more comfortable hiring these individuals. Or it could be that you're basing it upon their CV, but you haven't looked at, are they a cultural fit for my organization? Are they going to bring value, or am I going to have to spend a lot of time training them and teaching them our way of working? And because of that, a lot of people hire out of desperation as well. They just hire to put a bum on a seat, then actually questioning, is this the right individual for the business? Are they going to be able to add value to what I'm doing? Or is it they're going to be sucking the life out of the business, sucking the energy out of me because I'm constantly having to hold their hand? Are they going to be able to bring the expertise, the knowledge, or the experience that add value to our journey? And by not hiring the wrong people, you can find yourself in a situation where you're continuously firefighting politics, internal issues, your retention levels are lower, because they're never going to be the true fit. They're only here to earn some money and receive their paycheck at the end of the month. They're not truly committed to your cause. So these are all the things that you need to start thinking about. And by not thinking about them and not putting the correct solutions or the systems or frameworks in place, you're always going to find yourself stuck. Dealing with shit that you shouldn't have to be dealing with. Taking away your focus and energy from the things that are going to be driving your business forward, the objectives that are going to help you take the business to the next level. And hiring the wrong people is as much about culture as it is about your hiring process. Because in order for you to hire the right people, it means that you have to create the right sort of environment for them to want to be a part of. And hiring the right people isn't just about creating attractive job posts. What it's about is creating and cultivating the right type of culture that's naturally going to attract the attention of A players. And when I mean A players, the types of people that are going to be able to help take your business to the next level. The types of people that now might be tired working in organizations where they're overlooked, where they're just a number, where their contribution isn't felt or isn't appreciated. And you're always going to be at a disadvantage because you're going to be a smaller business. But that doesn't mean to say you still can't play the game. You can still create a winning culture that is fun, engaging, that values its employees, because these are the sort of businesses that A players value, because they're actually tired working for organizations whereby their contributions are never appreciated, or where they feel they can't provide maximum impact. And so when you set your business up in a way where you've got the right job hiring process in place, the correct systems, you're creating or you cultivate the correct sort of company culture that people want to be a part of, it's going to transform the productivity and the performance of your business, because naturally you're going to be hiring people that add the right experience and the right expertise to take it to the next level. It's going to be a conducive and harmonious space where it's going to amplify your productivity and the performance of the individuals within your business. That's going to have a massive impact on your output. Your service is going to be elevated, and naturally it's going to result in better outcomes for your clients, which means higher client retention. They're going to talk about your business to other people. Hence, you're going to have an organic flow of referrals. Your social proof is going to increase because they're going to be telling more people about it. They're going to be writing more positive reviews, and naturally that's just going to impact the amount of new customers that you bring in, and your sales are going to increase. So having the right people in your business, creating the right sort of culture, is going to do a lot of the legwork for you. And on top of this, having the right people whereby you're comfortable and confident in passing down your responsibilities and the burden that you carry on your shoulders is priceless. If you're hiring people that are able to do the job but aren't prepared to do anything beyond that other than what's listed within the job description, then they're not the sort of people that you want within your business. They're not the sort of people that you're going to feel comfortable and have the trust in to be able to give more responsibility to. So it's important that you bring people on that can alleviate a lot of the stress, a lot of the headache, a lot of the responsibility from you. So everything doesn't have to come onto your desk. Every decision, every strategy isn't governed by you, meaning that you can take a step back and concentrate on the things that are either going to move the needle in the right direction, or actually you can enjoy your time a lot more. You have a happier work-life balance. You don't have to be in the office for so many hours. You don't have to be there for 14-hour days. You can come in at maybe a little later a couple of days a week. You can enjoy your weekends. You can go on holiday knowing that shit's getting done, and you don't have to worry and stress about problems occurring. Or if they do occur, you know you've got the team on hand who can resolve that quickly. So this is key, not just for your peace of mind and your sanity, but also for the overall success of your business. Another big trap that most business owners fall into is having no differentiation between that of their competitors. So when you're a service-based business, it's likely that you're going to be competing with other companies that are running similar offers at similar price points, using similar infrastructure, service partners as what you already do. And so when that is the case, and they're charging similar prices for it, why should a customer pick you over them? This is where a lot of people become stuck, because there isn't anything to differentiate them from that of their competitors. So they're just lost in the noise. There's nothing that separates them from the market. So how you need to start thinking is, what can I do to differentiate myself or my business from that of the others in the industry? So one way you could do this is by building your brand authority. And what I mean by brand authority is when you're in a sales scenario and you're pitching your business and you're competing with other operators within your market, why is somebody going to choose you? Again, if you're offering a similar service at a similar price point, similar offer, similar caliber personnel, what is going to be the tipping point for them to choose you over that of other companies? And so what I learned is by building my brand authority and becoming a recognized authority within my space, we were able to sway prospective buyers to go with us as opposed to that of our competitors. And so how we did this was by leveraging both industry and business publications, online and traditional form, magazine, newspapers, in order to become or to create the perception of us being market leaders. So in theory, we were just like everybody else. But by leveraging business and industry publications, by becoming a regular feature within these newspapers and magazines, by winning industry awards and being recognized or having awards recognizing our input and contributions to the industry, we provided ourselves with a clear competitive advantage. So at the moment when I was sat down in front of a prospect and I was pitching our business and I was able to leverage this social proof, it just blew them away. And the proof is in the pudding. And you've probably done this numerous times. Have you ever been, stuck for watching a movie or film, not too sure what to watch? There's a couple of options, but then there was one that had won an Oscar or been nominated, say, for a BAFTA award. naturally that gives it an element of credibility, which is going to sway your decision. And it's likely that that's the choice of film that you're going to watch. Likewise, if you're going on holiday, you may not have been to that destination before. You might be going to say Spain or somewhere, never been there before. You've managed to shortlist a number of hotels, as there's a couple of options, but there's one that has just recently has been given an award for the best hotel in, say, Marbella. So naturally, if they're all at the same price point and they have similar amenities, the hotel that's recently won an award, that's going to be the hotel that you're going to stay at, hands down. I'd put a wager on the fact. So when you're regularly featuring industry or business publications, or if you're able to secure a business award, automatically it creates a level of social proof that is going to increase your conversion rate when you're prospecting or when you're pitching to clients. Fact. Everybody's doing the same shit, similar models, similar price points. So you have to start leveraging these tools in order for you to succeed and win. And so when I began to do this within my company, the results speak for themselves. We had a massive uplift in the amount of conversions from prospector to sales. And I could quite comfortably go into a meeting and know that I was going to walk away from their business because what we offered, no one else was offering. Plus, on top of that, we had the social proof of industry awards. I was featuring in various business publications, even national newspapers, Sunday Times, Forbes magazine. No one in my industry had this sort of leverage. And so that was what was able to separate my business from everybody else and gave us that competitive advantage. Now, the next trap is probably the biggest killer of dreams within any business. And what that is not having the correct systems in place. Now, the common mistake that most people make is that they build their business upon people, meaning that all the information, all the knowledge about how your business works is stuck in the minds of your employees, or it could actually be you. So what that means is that you're then dependent and relying on key individuals to be in the business in order for it to succeed and thrive and grow. Now, it may be the case that you've built a lot of your business around one or two key individuals. And as a result, you're almost held to ransom by them. And they could be the nicest of individuals. But what I mean by that is that they may one day decide to leave, or, God forbid, something bad could happen to them. And that leaves you in a very compromising situation because a lot of the knowledge and information about how your business operates goes with them too. So you need to ensure that your business is built upon systems and not any one individual. And the problem for me within my company is that I was that key individual, meaning that all the information around how things worked, how things operated, the knowledge around particular clients, how they wanted their service to be run, all started and stopped with me. So what that meant is that if anyone wanted to ask a question or if anyone wanted the information, they had to come knocking on my door. And so that meant I was spread too thinly, dealing in things that I shouldn't have been dealing with. People were continuously sending me messages, sending me emails, asking me questions. So everything started to stop with me, but that wasn't sustainable. And that's largely the reason why I found myself in a situation where I was overwhelmed, experiencing anxiety and all the rest of it. The thing is, when you first start in business, you actually like the feeling of this because you feel important, your phone's ringing all the time and you're like, yeah, you're answering it. It makes you feel busy, but being busy doesn't mean you're being productive. And it's okay, perhaps when you're starting out, that might be a necessary evil, but it's not sustainable and it's not scalable. So as your business begins to grow, you have to start to implement a level of maturity within your business, meaning embedding the right systems and processes, making sure there's clear processes for every action of your business. When you haven't got the correct systems in place and the correct processes, what can happen is, yes, you might develop a level of growth, but what is compromised with that growth is quality. Things start to fall between the cracks and problems occur because you're busy trying to juggle a million things with no clear organization and no clear workflows to how your business operates. So what every business should have in place are clear workflows and SOPs that outline every aspect of the business. Every action, every stage of a particular process needs to be clearly documented, clearly defined, so it creates the same end outcome each and every time, regardless of actually who's delivering that service. So imagine you have different employees within your business. Without having systems and clear USPs and workflows in place, if John is carrying out the work or if Susan is carrying out the work, the customer or your customer is going to have a different experience each and every time. Now for John, it could be amazing. For Sue, it could be a bit slapdash and not to the standard that you would expect from your staff. Why? because there isn't a clear systemized way to how you work as an organization. Without having this in place, it's going to be impossible to scale. You're going to reach a particular height, a particular size. You're either going to plateau, or your whole infrastructure, your whole empire is going to fall down. So you need to make sure that your business is built on solid foundations and not on sand. And so having the correct systems, having the processes, your SOPs, your how-to documents are instrumental in doing that, okay? The next trap that many business owners fall into is not having a strategy. Now, what I mean by this is, okay, yes, it's great. You may now have an end game. You have a destination or an objective that you want to achieve. However, without a clearly defined roadmap or plan, it's very likely that you're never going to get there. So unfortunately, most business owners fall into the trap where they're in a reactive state. They're reacting to the world around them, the complaints, the employee issues, the errors that have happened, the failures in their service. And they're so caught up in the day-to-day, they never have the clear line of sight of the road ahead. And so without having a clear, defined strategy, unfortunately, you're stuck in this paradigm of working on a day-to-day basis, never really seeing the road ahead. So what you need to be able to do is expand your timeline horizons so that you're no longer thinking on a day-to-day basis. You're not even thinking on a week-to-week or a month-to-month basis. You need to start envisioning years ahead, a minimum of 3 years to be exact. And by doing this, what you're able to see is, because based on where you are now, it can probably sometimes feel impossible to achieve the goals that you've set yourself. You know, how am I ever going to get to that point? How am I ever going to exit? How am I ever going to remove myself from the day-to-day operations of this business? It might seem impossible now, but by expanding your timeline horizons, setting your objectives and setting your goals according to your vision, you then systematically begin to break down your bigger goals into smaller, achievable goals, bit by bit, year by year, month by month. What you're actually utilizing is reverse engineering, looking where you want to be, deciphering what the key elements and key components of that destination is, and then start working backwards on how you can go about achieving that. That's all strategy is, setting your goal and then working backwards, defining a plan of how you're going to achieve that. But for most, that's not a reality. They're so stuck in the day-to-day firefighting aspects of their business that they can never see through the smoke. And until you start to make that change, you're always going to be one of these business owners. And it wasn't until I began to make that change that I started to move forward in my business. We started to progress, we started to grow, we started to evolve. And so this is a necessary issue that you're going to need to resolve if you're serious about taking your business to the next level and leveling up as an entrepreneur. If you want to grow, if you want to scale your business, then you first need to level up as a business owner. So make sure this is something that you work on to start embedding a strategy into how you operate your business. And lastly, the sixth trap that keeps most business owners stuck, entrapped within their business, imprisoned in the golden cage, and prevents them from scaling up and stuck in service delivery and everything else, would be weak marketing. And what I mean by this is that most service-based business owners, they tend to make the mistake of signing up to ad agencies who promise them the world. They said, by spending 1,500 quid a month with us, we will provide you X amount of leads. We'll start running your Google ad campaigns, maybe your Facebook campaigns. But what they get back in return is minimal. Now, they may get 1 or 2 leads. However, the mistake that they make is that the reports that they get from these agencies do not give them any insight to the effectiveness of their marketing. And so essentially what they're doing is just burning this £1,500 a month and getting very minimal back in return. They're not actually getting an ROI in their money because they don't know the numbers, they don't know the size. Now you've seen this probably in the Dragon's Den, whereby people or business owners have to pitch to the dragons. And one of the key things that these dragons need to know is that the entrepreneur they're going to invest in knows their numbers. And the reason being is if they don't know their numbers, then it's likely that they don't really know their business. And the same applies here for marketing. Because if you don't know your marketing numbers, then you don't know how you're ever going to scale your business to the next level. Scaling and growing your business for you is more about luck, an opportunity, and good fortune, rather than it being a science, rather than it being systematic and formulated. And so you have to educate yourself on what numbers to look out for when it comes to your marketing. Because what happens a lot of the time with these ad agencies, they're going to send you a report that contains nothing but vanity metrics. How many new followers you've acquired on your social media, what your CTR is, how many impressions, which is okay, but this doesn't necessarily equate to new leads. It doesn't help you to identify what's failing in your sales funnel, in your marketing funnel. And so essentially you're kept in the dark from the vital pieces of information that are needed to be able to systematically scale your company. So what you need to do is get rid of these agencies who are literally just burning your money up in smoke and start taking accountability for your marketing. You need to start acquiring the knowledge and the expertise to understand how this shit works. And so instead of reading bloody basic reports that are telling you vanity metrics about how many new followers you got on your Instagram, new followers don't necessarily equate to new customers. So you need to start from the fundamentals, the basics. Understand that you need to know your cost per acquisition, you need to know your CTR rates, you need to know what's working and what's not working across your marketing funnel. And you need to actually implement a marketing funnel. You need to know what it is that you're doing. And I'm gonna be straight, most entrepreneurs don't. They're just pissing in the wind. They're running ad campaigns without really knowing how it works and the science behind it. So once I started to move away from this broken way of working and began to embed high-performing funnels within my business, where I knew my numbers, I knew the analytics, I knew what my cost per acquisition was, I knew what my click-through rate was, I knew what ads were performing and what weren't performing. I knew what my landing page conversion rate was. I knew what my cost per book call was. I knew the sharp rates for calls. As soon as I began to know these numbers, I was able to identify any bottlenecks within the funnel. And the moment that I was able to identify these bottlenecks, I was then able to optimize in order to increase the amount of leads that we was able to generate within the business, hence increasing the amount of conversions, hence increasing my revenues and my profitability. That's how you scale, not by pissing in the wind, wasting money with these shitty agencies who are just trying to take your money and providing next to no value for your business. And so until you make this transition, you're always going to be stuck with some growth, maybe from organic and people making referrals. You're never going to be able to scale to multi-seven-figure revenues and achieve the sort of heights that are possible once you know what to do and you know how to structure your marketing systems so they're running on autopilot. So it doesn't need you to build on the day-to-day. So when you're sleeping, you're still creating sales. When you're sleeping, you're still creating leads. So when you get up, look in your inbox in the morning, you have how many book calls for that particular day. That's where you need to get to. And that's where I got to. And that's why I was able to scale my company to multiple seven-figure revenues and created a huge amount of value within the business. And so anytime I'm working with a new client within my coaching program, I can almost guarantee that they're going to be experiencing issues across most, if not all, of these 6 traps. But by working with me and working in a rapid exit system, we're quickly able to resolve a lot of these issues, implementing the frameworks, the blueprints and the systems that I used that helped me to transform my business from struggling, stuck, working a ridiculous amount of hours in my business, overwhelmed, experiencing anxiety, to a point where I was able to scale my business, go and live in Bali in Indonesia with my family, and actually exit my business. That became the next stage of my journey. While I was living in Bali, I actually received a number of offers from different organizations, different entrepreneurs, and a couple of VCs to buy my business. And in the end, I ended up selling for a sum in excess of $6 million. And so now I no longer live in Bali. I actually live in Dubai with my family, and we live with total financial freedom. Yeah, I live life on my terms. And that's what inspired me to actually set up this channel and start mentoring other business owners. Because this is a common problem within business. There's an abundance of information out there, but there's no one really who has actually been through the trials and tribulations of running and operating their own business, that has experienced these pitfalls, been stuck in these traps, but been able to come out the other side to the point where they've sold their business and now able to help other people. Yes, there are an abundance of business coaches out there, but none of them have had the hands-on experience that I have. And so now I'm committed to helping other frustrated business owners who are stuck, know they're destined for more, but just struggling with the steps on how to get there. And so as I said, I now live in Dubai with my family. We live in an amazing home. I have properties across the world, property portfolio back in the UK. I have a development company in Thailand also. And now I just spend my time doing the things that I really love and enjoy. And I enjoy giving back. I enjoy helping others. And so I created the rapid exit system, which is the exact blueprint and formula that I use to transform my struggling business to a point where I now live with total financial freedom and choose to live life on my terms. And so now I've created the rapid exit system, which is my platform to help other service-based business owners escape the day-to-day delivery of their business, following the exact blueprint, the exact 6-step formula that I use within my business to transform that from stuck, struggling, overwhelmed to where I was able to move to the other side of the world where my business didn't need me to thrive. And ultimately, it enabled me to break free and give me autonomy over my time, which is priceless. And so if you're still watching this video to this point and believe what I shared with you today is valuable, and if you think the rapid exit system could help you with the challenges that you're experiencing within your business, then click the link in the description below. Let's jump on a free discovery call where I can understand a bit more about your business, and hopefully we can see if the rapid exit system is a good fit for you. And so I hope what I shared with you today has provided some value. And if you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.